Hi, it's Uncle Larry. My video comments are usually about taking a concept apart, looking at it from different angles, and seeing how it makes sense or how it does not make sense. It's a niche undertaking, and I never expect as many viewers for the comments as I get for my very popular music videos, but I have been a bit surprised at the response that they're getting anyway. I've done 32 video comments so far, and if you've missed them, you can find them all in one place on YouTube as well. I warehouse them there. Just search Uncle Larry on the B-Side Apostles page on YouTube, and you can find them there. Speaking of apostles, I wanted to step outside the box and do another movie review. This time, it's a movie from the past, but one I keep coming back to. It's from 1997, and it's called The Apostle. Its star, Robert Duvall, was nominated for an Oscar, and the movie's soundtrack won a Grammy Award. Now, I got the idea to do a comment about this film, The Apostle, while I was recording my recent video review of the movie Oppenheimer. In the corner of my eye, as I was recording, as I am now, I could see the image of the DVD for The Apostle on my bookshelf. It's above my right shoulder on the top of my bookshelf. It's there now. It's a picture of a man in a white suit, sunglasses. He's got his arms raised. I'm trying to point at it. Do you see it? So I left it there on the shelf so that you would see it exactly the way I did when I was recording the other movie review on Oppenheimer. And it was at that point it dawned on me to revisit The Apostle. If I was to attempt a one-sentence review of the film, it might go like this. In this Oscar-nominated 1997 film, The Apostle, played by Robert Duvall, is Sonny, a gifted Southern preacher loved by his community until he commits a crime of passion and is forced to run from the law. That's one sentence, but it's not enough. Here's a bit longer synopsis of the plot. Ulyss F. Sonny Dewey is a charismatic Pentecostal preacher. His attractive wife, Jessie, played by Farrah Fawcett, has begun an adulterous affair with the youth minister. She refuses Sonny's desire to get back together, and although she assures him she won't interfere with his right to see his children, she has also conspired to use the church's bylaws to have Sonny removed from the church. Sonny is perplexed. He asks God what to do, but receives no answer. At his child's Little League game, Sonny, in an emotional and drunken fit, attacks the youth pastor with a baseball bat, puts him in a coma, and the youth pastor subsequently dies. After fleeing, Sonny ditches his car in a river and gets rid of all identifying information. After destroying all evidence of his past, Sonny rebaptizes himself in the same river and anoints himself as the Apostle E.F., a new identity. He leaves Texas and ends up in the bayous of Louisiana, where he persuades a retired minister to help him start a new church. With Sonny's energy and charisma, the church soon has a faithful and racially integrated flock. There's lots more in there. I'm just scratching the surface. Some great scenes with Billy Bob Thornton as well. You will not want to miss. Continuing, though. Meanwhile, back in Texas, ex-wife Jessie is playing with the radio. She hears a distant signal, the sound of a preacher called Apostle E.F. She says to herself, well, that sounds like Sonny. She calls the police. The police show up at Sonny's church in the middle of an evening service, but allow Sonny to finish it while they wait outside. In the poignant finale, Sonny delivers a fiery sermon before telling his flock that he's got to go. In the final scene, Sonny, now part of a chain gang, is preaching to inmates as they work alongside of a highway. So there's your synopsis. The late movie critic Roger Ebert gave the film 4 out of 4 stars and said, quote, Sonny is different from most movie preachers. He's not a fraud, for one thing. Hollywood tilts toward that stereotype. Sonny has a one-on-one relationship with God, takes his work seriously, and in the movie's opening scene, the preacher pauses at an auto accident to ask one of the victims to accept Jesus Christ. Sonny is flawed with a quick temper, but he has a good heart, and the film is about his struggle back to redemption after his anger explodes, unquote. That's something from the late Roger Ebert. Making The Apostle had been a long-time passion project for Duvall, who first wrote the script 13 years before filming it in 1997. As Ebert noted, The Apostle became something of a legend in independent film circles because Duvall was so long in getting the thing made. The major studios turned him down flat. So did old associates who had always promised to help him but did not return his calls for this project. So it's not unexpected that Duvall had to write, direct, produce, star in this film and round up the money by himself. He used his own money to finance the film. The reasons for this are twofold. One, there aren't that many people in the film industry gifted enough to make such a film. And two, few are still in the industry with the courage to deal honestly with a subject like this. Let's go back to an old clip from the New York Times. The writer is Sam Friedman. He says, quote, Duvall's interest in playing a preacher stemmed from an experience he had in the 1960s visiting a small Pentecostal church in Arkansas while doing research for a Broadway play. Duvall said he was captured by the atmosphere, the feeling of the genuineness, the folklore. Preaching, Duvall said, is one of the great American art forms. The rhythm, the cadence, and nobody knows about it except the preachers themselves, unquote. That's Sam Friedman from the New York Times. So to research his role as Sonny, Duvall traveled with Southern evangelists for months. He learned how to preach. Some of them allowed him to speak in their churches. How's that? The scenes of revival meetings in the movie are real. The crowds are real. The preachers featured are actual preachers. And Duvall cast all the extras from actual congregations. The essential thing, though, is why does this movie strike a chord with me? Aside from just being a great film, where to start? Biggest factor is this. Unlike a number of films that portray evangelical ministers or Christians in general as hypocritical and unscrupulous, Sonny is presented differently. He's weak, deeply, cringingly imperfect, but he's not a self-righteous man, and he is not a con man. Instead, he genuinely loves his God, he cares about people. Even when out of the limelight, he spends time praying. The movie does not set out to uncover corruption and hypocrisy or attack deeply held beliefs. It does not patronize, it does not satirize. It is respectful without being reverential. No wonder Hollywood didn't want to have a thing to do with it. The other reason it resonates with me is more personal. It's close to home. My father was a Pentecostal preacher. I grew up singing gospel music. I attended a seminary and for a brief time trained as a minister myself. My life ended up taking a different path, that's fine, but it left me feeling perpetually frustrated at the way evangelical Christians are caricatured in film, in the media, and by people who just don't know any better. You may not think like them. You may not believe like them, but don't ever think that these people are insincere or unintelligent. But, you say, what about the charlatans out there? That proves nothing, except that in every community, religious or not, there are going to be a vocal minority of fools. When I prepared to see The Apostle for the first time, I braced myself for yet another inaccurate, unfair yarn about deceit and fraud. Here we go again, I thought. Boy, was I ever wrong. Whether you're religious or not, trust me, this is one great movie. You're going to love it. And for once, it doesn't look down on anybody. You can rent it on YouTube, Prime, or Apple TV.